The KwaZulu-Natal Department of Transport says reckless and negligent driving was to blame for today's horror accident between a minibus taxi and a truck on the R33 Greytown Road near Pietermaritzburg. 15 people died in the accident. Spokesperson Kwanele Nkalani says the taxi driver is expected to appear in court on Monday, facing 15 charges of murder and 4 of attempted murder.
The death toll has now reached 15. This follows 2 people who were very critical, also died in hospital. And this has now made the number to 15 because there were 13 people who died on the scene in an accident that happened on R33. We are very concerned and we want to send our deepest condolences. We, however, welcome the decision to charge the driver with cases of murder.
Archbishop Emeritus Desmond Tutu says he is still optimistic that the government will grant Tibetan spiritual leader the Dalai Lama a visa to attend his 80th birthday celebrations next Friday. Civic organizations have accused the government of stalling on the issue. The International and Home Affairs departments have been saying for the last 2 weeks that the application has been processed. Tutu says although he's sad at government's handling of the issue, he has not lost hope.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm still I'm hopeful. Because he wants to come. Many people want him to come. I want him to come. He's a very dear friend and just a tiny sadness, you know.
Myanmar's Prime Minister in exile, Sin Win, will meanwhile visit South Africa to accept an honorary doctorate on behalf of Nobel Peace Laureate Aung San Suu Kyi. His spokesperson says Win will arrive tomorrow and stay until next Wednesday. The lecture, titled Dilemmas in South Africa's Relations with Burma, will include a live video broadcast with Suu Kyi. South Africa's trade account recorded a trade deficit of 3.7 billion rand last month, compared with a 3.9 billion rand shortfall in July. The South African Revenue Service says the deficit was mainly due to increased exports of chemical or allied industries and precious and semi-precious stones, and increased imports of machinery and electrical appliances, mineral products and equipment components. Exports rose by 8% to 61 billion rand in August, but were still outweighed by imports, which increased by 7% to almost 65 billion rand. Today was the last day for manual tax return submissions. Early this month, the South African Revenue Service said taxpayers had submitted over 2 million tax returns in 11 weeks, a new record. SARS spokesperson Adrian Lackey says November 25th is the final cut-off date for submitting individual returns.
We believe many people who think a refund is owed to them did submit earlier, which they're entitled to by law, but it's been a very good response this year. We believe there's more than 5 million people, between 5 and 6 million, who would be required by law to submit a tax return. So they still have time until 25 November. If you don't, we'll obviously notify you in writing that your return is outstanding and that penalties may be due that we will impose over time. But really the call is for people to come forward as early as possible. And if you need assistance, we provide that free of charge at the office.
Further afield, hundreds of Egyptians are demonstrating in central Cairo to call on the military leadership to speed up the transfer of military power to civilians and revoke emergency laws. The protesters have been gathering in Tahrir Square. The BBC's Bethany Bell is there.
These protesters want to reclaim Egypt's revolution. They're frustrated with the slow pace of change, and they object to parts of the electoral law, which they fear could return supporters of the former president Hosni Mubarak to power. This week, a coalition of parties, including the powerful Muslim Brotherhood, threatened to boycott the upcoming elections unless the law was changed.
Back home, the funeral service for Mrs. Regina Nzo will take place tomorrow, Saturday, in Johannesburg. The service will start at 9 o'clock at Rhema Bible Church in Randburg. Mrs. Nzo, who passed away last Saturday, aged 81, was the widow of former Secretary General of the ANC and former Minister of Foreign Affairs Alfred Nzo, who died in 2000. Recapping the top story, the KwaZulu-Natal Department of Transport says reckless and negligent driving was to blame for today's horror accident between a minibus taxi and a truck on the R33 Greytown Road near Pietermaritzburg.